Hi, I'm Melissa Cobb. Come fly with AOPA. This week we continue our Backcountry Beginner Basics series, bring you the story of a Massachusetts airport that got a new lease on life, and take you flying to Mackinac Island in Michigan.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today.
Well, come along with me to the grass strip where I got my start in aviation, my first flight when I was just 2 or 3 years old. It's a 900-foot grass strip behind my parents' house. Now, it took me about 2 decades of sharpening my flying skills and building my confidence to actually go back in there solo. But here's a look at some of the basics that helped me get there.
So I'm so excited to be taken out of the strip behind my parents' house. I grew up flying out of here with my dad, mostly at sunset, usually at Champs, Tabria, but most of my memories were in a 170 that he had. So excited to take you up for that ride. All right, I'm going full power. So the grass strip behind my parents' house is 900 feet long, and really it's a one-way in, one-way out, and the wind has to be calm in order to operate in and out of there, especially, I have a stock 170. I really have to pay attention to the weather conditions. So I need low density altitude, cooler temperatures, lower humidity. I have about half tanks. Coming in here with 17 gallons. So really you would need, on a short strip like that, you would need 180 horse or, something with more horsepower if you're going to bring in, gear or another person. You could also, if the wind's, right down the runway, you could take off and leave, then wait to come back when it's calmed back down again. I remember when I was little, especially when we had a tandem seat airplane, my dad would let me have my hand on the stick in the back, so I thought I was landing. Of course, it was a lot easier back then. All right, I'm gonna start getting set up for my downwind. Then down to 1500. Start slowing up to 70 miles an hour. My flap range, go ahead. First notch of flaps. Have the runway in sight. Beautiful sun. Bright reddish orange. Alright, I'm going to trim it here. Feels good at 70. 1500. Power a little bit to hold that. Paralleling the runway. I'm going to lose sight of it here in just a minute on the downwind, but I have my point out straight ahead so that I can stay on course. Tracking parallel to the runway. I have lost sight of it. I won't see it again until I'm starting to come around on final. Turn my base right over this little valley. Degrees of flaps. Oh, 40, 60. I'm going to keep this, but when I turn final, I'm going to load at 55. Still can't see the runway yet, but I'm flying right up this valley. I'll start my turn, come around the bend in this hill over here. Helps have a blue water tower as a nice aiming point. I always pick aiming points to have as backups when I can't have sight of the runway the whole time. Right, runway is coming into view. Holding 55. Little bit of power here. Alright. There we go. Hope you enjoyed this sunset flight. It's absolutely beautiful. I loved sharing a little piece of my childhood with you and some of the technique that it takes. Let me know what some of your favorite childhood memories are. I'd love to hear them. Flying is just a beautiful thing, especially to do with family.
Well, since I shared with you how I got my start in aviation, let me know in the comments below how you got your start in that type of flying that you love to do. And if you want to get more short field practice so that you can start going in and out of short backcountry strips, take note from some pilots in Alaska. So for the last 10 years, every summer, members of the Fairbanks General Aviation Association have been painting a short 800-foot by 25-foot wide strip on the gravel runway at Fairbanks International Airport. They call it a Super Cub strip, and it's there so that pilots can practice their short field landings before they head off into remote areas. Now I know we can't necessarily do that on our paved runways down here in the lower 48, but it might be an idea for some grass strips. We'll drop a link to that story in the description below. You can read about it on our website and get tips on how they do that. We have an airport win to share with you. AOPA and pilots at the Walter J. Kaladza Airport in Great Barrington, Massachusetts banded together to help save the airport by dispelling myths and misinformation that some local anti-airport residents were trying to spread around in an effort to kind of effectively close the airport. And AOPA Eastern Regional Manager Sean Collins was heavily involved in that, and he joins us now. Hey, Sean, can you tell us, what was the threat that the airport was facing?
Thanks, Alyssa. Well, there were 3 area residents who actually filed a lawsuit against the town of Great Barrington in Boston Land Court, alleging that the town had improperly allowed the airport, which was established before the enactment of local zoning laws, to continue to develop over the decades as a pre-existing non-conforming property. So they allege that the town should have, over the years, obligated the airport to comply with certain zoning laws in an effort to force the airport back into its pre-1940s footprint. The lawsuit was what precipitated the need for the airport to acquire a special permit from the city of Great Barrington, which essentially allows the airport to continue to operate under its current footprint.
Okay. So what did you and the local pilots do to help save the airport and ultimately get that special permit?
Sure. Well, to be honest, they had already started following AOPA's recommended steps before they first called us. They had formed a citizens group, created an online petition to collect community signatures in support of the airport, and had started publicly advocating for the airport with promotional marketing and campaign of sorts. So when they called us, it was really about just helping them sharpening the blade and dispel the many myths that were thrown out in an effort to make the airport look bad.
Okay. Now, what if, pilots are at an airport that, they're facing similar threats? What should they do?
Well, to be honest, the best way to fix a problem is to prevent it from starting in the first place. One way to do that is to make sure that your airport has an airport support network volunteer. These folks work as AOPA's local eyes and ears and work to keep us informed before issues become actual problems. But once a problem does arise, it's really key to have a collective group, or whether it's a pilot association or tenant association, a group of folks who are already part of the active aviation community who can work with officials to make sure they understand the value of their airport.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sean. And I tell you, we appreciate everything you're doing for our members and airports and in the state legislatures all across the Eastern region.
Thanks, Alyssa. That's what we're here for.
All right. Well, have you ever wondered what it would be like to fly into one of the nation's most secure airports, Washington Dulles International Airport? Well, AOPA senior photographer David Toulis and intern Charlie Beadle had the opportunity to fly a tri-pacer in there, and they were flying in to attend the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum's Innovation of Flight Day at the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center. Let's take a look at their flight.
Tri-Pacer 28 Alpha 200 and cleared through the Class Bravo airspace to Dulles. Clear 28 Alpha, you expect runway 1 right.
We'll expect 1 right for 28 Alpha. Thanks for the help. Turning now. All right, there you go.
Yes, sir.
How about that? Clear through Class Bravo. That's the magic.
Washington Dulles International Airport ATIP information Charlie 1052 Zulu. Wind 290 at 4.
Well, this is kind of cool, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing spots that I go hiking all the time that I can't usually fly over. So.
Nice. So we're within the CIPRA. We're cleared through Class Bravo. And this is, I've been clear through Bravo before to Dulles. I filed CIPRA flight plans before, but I always thought it was a big hassle. So far, it didn't turn out to be a big hassle.
Yeah, it hasn't been it's too bad. They make it seem like it's way harder than it is.
Okay. Left on Kilo, looking for the ops vehicle. Thank you very much. Good day.
November 748 Lima Alpha, Dulles Tower.
Welcome to Dulles.
November 28 Alpha, nice work. Turn left to Kilo 7, left turn Kilo 7, taxi Kilo right behind the Mooney.
To watch the full video, just click the card in the upper right of your screen. Well, Joby Aviation has some exciting news coming out. They have received a special airworthiness certificate from the FAA that's going to let them test fly their prototype, their first production line prototype electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. This aircraft came off the line from their California facility. Now, Joby is the company that is aiming to do electric commercial passenger service with eVTOL aircraft. KitFox owners have a new rugged backcountry landing gear option. It's the Acme Aero Black Ops suspension, and it's a bolt-on replacement for certain existing KitFox gear, and it's optional for the KitFox Series 5, 6, and 7 models, and it's going to be standard on the KitFox S7 STI. Now, that upgrade costs just under $3,500. Well, it is the height of vacation season, and AOPA social media marketer Kayla Hunt takes us along on her vacation to Mackinac Island in Lake Huron. She brings us along with her husband Ryan, their dog Saber, and the pilot flying them in actually used to be a local resident there, Grace Yacober.
So we are in Traverse City, Michigan today. We are taxiing out at the Traverse City Airport. I'm with Grace, and we are flying to Mackinac Island today. I used to go to Mackinac Island as a kid. I have not been in probably 10 plus years. My husband, who's in the back, he has never been, and our dog Saber is joining us as well. So it's going to be a really fun day, and let's get it going.
So when was your first time on the island?
My first time going to Mackinac Island, I was definitely under the age of 10. Definitely.
Oh, you're little.
I was young. You know, all my family lives downstate near Flint. I have never flown into Mackinac Island. I'm so excited.
Your first time ever.
Yeah, this is my first time flying in. So, do you have some tips or tricks of the trade for flying in here? Like, you know, kind of walk us through that.
Just be a safe pilot going over the water. Make sure you're conscious of your surroundings because there is a lot of traffic that goes up there, especially on a weekend like today. But I do recommend you avoid overflying the island. It does say that when you look at the airport directory to avoid flying over the island. And that is just because when people go to the island, you're there because you get to step back in time. And I like to contribute and help preserve that whole aspect of the island.
Sure.
So really make sure that it's like you're stepping back into the 1800s. You got horses, you've got this whole, there's no cars on the streets, everything is kind of old and vintage up there. And the best way to preserve that is to abide by those, that nice little roundabout on the island and make sure you don't overfly the island. Mackinac Island traffic, 54141 short final, runway 26, Mackinac Island.
So we just left the airport and now Grace is going to start giving us a little walking tour of the island. What are we gonna go do first, Grace?
We're heading towards the cemeteries, and that's where like all of the cool historic monuments and stuff are.
Okay.
So we're gonna hit that first, and then we're gonna make our way downtown.
Awesome, let's do it. We walked about 1.5 miles from the airport to our very first stop, Fort Holmes.
We are currently at Fort Holmes. Now, Fort Holmes was the first fort to be built on the island by the British. This is the main fort that was on the island, and this has since been reconstructed several times. I think they did this
right about the time I was leaving the island. So it's a pretty cool spot to see because it's the highest point on the island, and you can kind of see out that way. You get a pretty nice view.
Our next stop was Anne's Tablet, which is a bronze plaque that honors author Constance Woolson and her novel Anne. The novel offers a glimpse of life in the mid-1800s on Mackinac Island. Near Anne's Tablet is a beautiful overlook that requires a small hike through the woods, but offers a beautiful view of downtown and the Mackinac Bridge. Then we hiked downtown, past beautiful blooming lilac bushes, to find a dog-friendly patio for lunch. We ended up at the Great Turtle Brewery and had several different smaller plates, including an absolutely delicious Bavarian pretzel and wasabi dip. After lunch, we started towards the famed Arch Rock. This natural limestone formation stands 15 stories tall and has been standing for over 7,500 years. The next stop on our list was Fort Mackinac. The fort was built in 1782 and served as a British and American military outpost. The fort also houses the oldest building in Michigan and features many demonstrations, tours, and even a gift shop. After stepping back in time at the fort, we headed back downtown to grab the one item I couldn't leave Mackinac Island without, chocolate fudge. Loaded up with fudge, we started heading back to the airport. Our final must-see destination was the Grand Hotel. I can't wait to stay here one day.
So we just got back to the airport, just started the airplane up, and we're going to head back to Traverse City. We had a super fun day on the island. How many miles did we walk?
You said 7, but
I had 7.7.
7.7, so almost 8 miles. That's almost around the entire island.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's like 8 I guess it's 8.2 miles, I'm sorry.
My feet hurt so bad, my knees hurt. Saber is exhausted. But no, that was a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Grace.
You're most welcome.
That was so worth it.
Absolutely.
And let's go back to Traverse City and have a really good dinner.
Oh god.
We have worked up quite the appetite.
Kayla, I'm so excited you got to fly into Mackinac Island. I visited there as a child once, a fascinating island, and it's one of my dreams to fly into the island and just like you, stay at the Grand Hotel. And I'm glad you got some of the yummy chocolate to take back with you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Fly with AOPA. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all our latest videos. And this week we leave you with some flying footage of the AOPA Cessna 170 sweepstakes airplane from AOPA social media marketer Eric Webb. Be sure to send in your favorite flying videos. We just might share them on an upcoming show. And as always, if you're not already an AOPA pilot, we'd love to have you join us. Click the link at the end of this video to learn more about our trial membership. We'll see you next week.